Welcome back to the Barca Breakdown. My name is Adam. I'm here with Yus.
What's up, guys?
And we have some big news to cover after you hit that subscribe button, because today we're talking about Xavi and his new rules he's implementing. Dani Alves coming back to Barcelona. We'll talk about Sergio Aguero, the surprise player who Xavi is apparently loving in training, and then Laporta hinting that Raheem Sterling could come here in the winter use. So let's get after it, right? Because the first big thing we want to cover is Xavi and the rules he's put in place to try and continue what we discussed in our last video about, Xavi restoring rules and order and some semblance of a structure to the team. So why don't you go over the rules, Yus?
Sure. So he had 10 rules, starting with mostly time constraints. So players must arrive for training an hour and a half before it starts. Team must get in for training 2 hours before it starts. Players must have lunch at the training ground. There's fines introduced for being late, exponentially increasing fines, curfews, 48 hours before the game. It's a meritocracy, basically. If you perform well, you play. Extracurricular activities will be monitored and denied if they are bad or they're time-consuming. High-risk activities are banned, and then like swimming, which was mentioned, and players must be positive representatives of the club. So these are like his 10 rules for making sure that our young players, especially many young players that we have, are staying on point. They are adhering to the rules, obviously, and making sure that, people aren't just doing whatever they want to do, right? Because there's plenty of times where we've had instances, and especially, for example, when Dembele first came to the team, he was always arriving late to practice, and he is the first one to be fined for this being late thing. So unfortunately for Dembele, even though after Xavi talked very positively of him, he's the first one to get fined. But, I think the fining thing is kind of odd to me because there's got to be another way to discipline the people other than fining them. But, I know you have a different take on that, Adam.
Well, I don't think it's that important, but yeah, with professional sports, fining is like the number one thing to do because there's not that many more things you can do without harming the team, and the coach, of course, needs the team to win. But really what I think this does is it helps, bring a camaraderie, right? Especially some of those minor things like eating lunch together at the training ground.
True.
There has been an issue for the last few weeks, months, maybe years, right, where we see two things. One, we always talk about is the team crumbling under pressure. And two is some of these games we don't see the team really give their all, and we get big leads like we did right just before the break, 3-0 lead that we gave up to Celta Vigo. We get these big leads, and then all of a sudden we kind of quit on each other, and everyone kind of runs around like a headless chicken. And so I think what Xavi's trying to do here is get everyone back on the same page and have a camaraderie where it's like the person to your left, to your right, in front of you, like you are playing together as one unit to help the team win. And I feel like we've been kind of lacking that camaraderie and that teammate aspect of the game, and then as well we've been lacking the enjoyment, right? A big Frankie de Jong fan as myself, I've been noticing that Frankie not only looks lost because of his positioning, but it just doesn't seem like he's enjoying the game, which is certainly a natural reaction to not playing well. But I think there's something else there. Right? Like, we look at Messi, greatest player of all time in Argentina, for example. Like, you always see him around his team laughing, smiling. I feel like when you see other team pictures like Bayern Munich, they're always seeming to get along. And I just feel like there's not that tight-knit bond amongst our team that you'd want to see, especially when you have a core group of youngsters, right? Because Xavi's not here for a temporary stay. He's here to build a project. And I think building begins with that initial connection between the team so that, everyone's out there fighting for each other.
No, that's a great point. I didn't even really put my nose on that one, but I think it's also important because, we have a lot of seniors still and a lot of seniors that are not leading the team, and so I think that will definitely help them do that because who knows, I'm sure there's some type of small niches, right, between the players. I'm sure certain players get along better with other players, and possibly just because they don't spend a lot of time together. Who knows? But I think this is definitely a great thing to do. And I think you mentioned this in the last video. It seems very militaristic, but I think at the time that we're in right now, there's a lot of turmoil. I think this is something that we definitely need to do and get our team back in the right headspace. And I think to transition a little bit here, I think that's why Dani Alves is coming in. He's a senior player. He's done wonderful at Barca, many trophies, great success.
Not just many, right? Dani Alves is literally the player with the most trophies in soccer history. I believe he has 43. And, what's funny is it shows a little bit more of just how Xavi is really all-encompassing and taking over the team in a good way, right? And this goes back to our last video, and we're talking about Xavi. He wanted to come into a post-Messi Barca so that he could have full control, again, to help shape the team into what it can be. And, the board has been dilly-daddling around for like a month now. We've heard rumors that Xavi might be coming, and then boom, all of a sudden, or that Dani Alves might be coming, and then boom, all of a sudden, what Xavi does is he says, hey, I want Dani Alves on board, and then within 12 hours, we basically have signed him. And so, it's just another example of Xavi kind of putting his mark on the team.
Yeah, and I think Dani Alves made a post on Instagram and just saying how much he loved the team and how hard he's worked to come back to the team. And that's one of the things, showing passion for the team and wanting to kind of bring them back from the ashes, like the phoenix that we are right now, we're developing into. I think that we have to get somebody who loves the team, but at the same time, he's an older player, and I think in the past we complained about some of these older players coming to the team or still on the team taking up fines, but I think he's coming back on a low salary. He's there to really dig us out of a hole that we've dug over the last few years under Bartomeu, under Setien, Koeman, for example.
Well, I really see Dani Alves as like a leader, right? A big reason we're going to get him is because we need his leadership in the clubhouse. And with so many young players, to have someone who's won so many trophies, that's a huge experience boost for them. And then on top of that, it's not just that he's won so many trophies, but there is a certain, as is just renowned with Dani Alves and his time with us and his whole career, he has a very playful and joyful nature. And so he's really, what they call a locker room guy, right? I don't think Dani Alves is going to play any of our big matches unless he somehow comes out as, still good at his old age. But I think he's there to give that leadership, show players that you can mix both play with a great performance on the field. And then, finally, we've been kind of in this no man's land ever since Dani Alves left in 2016, where we haven't had a really good right back in all that time. Dest is a player we're hoping is going to be that. And I think to have Dani Alves there to kind of coach him and make sure we bring out the best in him, it's going to be really good for the locker room.
Yeah, and we definitely need to get Sergio Roberto out of that area, even though Des has been playing in the wing so much. But I think we have lacked width in general, not only due to injured players, but also due to young players, due to just not the training based around that. And so I think it'll definitely help us for sure.
Well, let's move on, Yus, because I have a question for you. You won't believe this, even though I already know you know the answer. It's rhetorical. But can you believe the player who is just really shocking Xavi in training so far?
It's Mr. Umtiti, the one that has cried into Laporta and made this drama. I mean, and has been injured.
Umtiti is really like a cat, right? He has 9 lives. It feels like every 2 or 3 months we hear a story about Umtiti coming back. Then he comes back and he's not that good. Then, a new season comes. He's all of a sudden showing promise. And, in training, Xavi has been really, really impressed by Umtiti. He even, stood Umtiti out and said, hey, you're doing a really good job. Some of his teammates clapped, and it looks like Umtiti could get some more time. And it should be really interesting to see because that, again, goes back to Xavi's rules. He really wants to have a meritocracy, right, where we're starting from a clean slate. And Xavi, and in the Xavi presentation video we covered how Xavi said, Lenglet, Umtiti, I haven't seen them with my own eyes. I need to see them before I judge. And now he's seen Umtiti and likes him a lot. And it should be really interesting to see because I think, in Xavi's new play style and the new way we're going to build from the back, a center back who can pass really well is really important. And Umtiti definitely covers that. That's always been his great skill. It's just in the last few years we've seen, of course, ever since that infamous knee injury in the World Cup, he's a lot slower. So even last year when he came, I think against Bilbao, he had a good game, but then, kind of fell to the wayside because he's just not fast enough. So it should be interesting to see if Umtiti is somehow able to keep up, of course, his good passing abilities, but then also get some speed back.
Well, I just also want to say that I think it's really good that he's giving Umtiti this kind of praise, this recognition, because I know it's really hard for a player to be off injury, but it also revitalizes the younger players too to see something like that. It really boosts their positive thinking and probably some, team building, right?
Why?
Because, if you think about it, a player being out for so long, has gone through so many hardships, it's really heartwarming to see somebody that has been struggling so hard. And I think under Koeman, he wanted to come back and show what he was capable of, but I don't think he had those opportunities. Koeman didn't seem to favor him. Koeman didn't seem to favor a lot of players, example, Ricky Puig. But at the end of the day, like it shows that if you work hard enough, especially if you're a young player, he's going to give you the opportunity and the recognition. And everybody loves recognition. It makes them feel good. It makes them perform better. It makes them want to perform for the coach, right? Like if a coach is always putting you down, I think like Pjanic, for example, really didn't have a good relationship with Koeman. Yeah. It always seemed like he was in a negative headspace about his performances, even though he was saying he worked so hard in practice, but Koeman didn't seem to notice, right? Xavi's giving these people the attention, the time, and, just a overall positive thing in this circumstance.
Sure. And I think to wrap it up, the last thing we have to talk about is there has been, like you said, an issue with width at Barcelona, especially with Dembele's injury issues. And then again, on the right side, we never really have anyone to occupy that space. We haven't for like 5 years, ever since Messi's kind of moved centrally. And then, of course, with Messi gone, we tried this season under Koeman to put Dest as the right wing, and it had kind of mixed reviews. But there's a player at Manchester City, Raheem Sterling, one of my favorite players. City is one of the teams I support. And, 4 years ago, I thought Raheem Sterling was going to quickly become one of the best players in the world. He has fallen a little bit to the wayside under Pep Guardiola and Man City lately after having some hard times, converting goals and not being at the level he was 2 or 3 seasons ago. But there's been rumors that Barca might try and go for a loan deal during the winter break. And Laporta now is reportedly given an off-the-record comment to 64 journalists that Barca are going for Raheem Sterling, right? And so the first thing that's obvious is, hey, I know it's an off-the-record comment. You're not supposed to report it. But if he's doing it in front of 64 journalists, I have a feeling Laporta kind of knows it's going to get out there. Sure. And it's the type of low-risk comment where he's getting excitement for the fans. At the same time, if it doesn't go through, he'll be like, well, I never officially said that. But then on the other end, Raheem Sterling's a really exciting player. He's had some issues losing the ball, but I think he could, be a really wonderful addition. I mean, it's kind of crazy when we have Depay, Fati, Dembele, Aguero, Braithwaite, that we need more players up front when you really think of our defense as the part that's lacking. But with so many injuries, I feel like a right winger, left winger could be really good for us.
I just don't know how we're going to afford him. If that's
What's a loan deal? Loans are usually not that bad.
Okay. Makes sense. The last thing we're going to, as you mentioned, Aguero. We're not 100% sure if he's going to come back from his injury. He's still having some heart issues.
The new report is that it's worse, right? Is that like there is does not look to be an improvement, and that it's looking more likely that he might have to retire. But like they said before, right? He had 90 days to kind of be under observation. He can't play, and then they're going to do a reassessment. Just the recent reports really look bad, and so Yus and I just want to, and I think all Barca fans want to wish him the best and hope he recovers quickly.
No, definitely. But with that, guys, smash the subscribe button because we're going to get the latest news, especially coming up in the next week. We're going to have a game on November 20th, so stay tuned, bringing you everything we got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.